Spent over 20 years chasing success with ADHD. Two words that don't seem to go together, right? Reading all the books, trying all the routines, forcing myself to become someone I thought I had to be, and no matter how hard I tried, I still felt like I was falling short. But the truth is, everything changed when I stopped trying to be normal, whatever that means, and started figuring out what success actually looks like with ADHD. And in this video, I'm going to share with you what took me 21 years to understand in just 10 minutes. Hi, I'm Jamie Vasilian, the hypnosis for ADHD specialist, helping ADHDers just like yourself manage and even master their uniquely wired brains so that you can stop playing catch up and start showing up as the best version of yourself, which we all need you to be. Now, if you haven't already, hit subscribe, stay in the loop on ADHD hypnosis coaching and tools that actually work. Now, let's dive back in. When we hear the word success, many of us think big money, big job, big house, the usual checklist. Maybe it's the American dream, maybe it's Hollywood, maybe it's something that just makes you roll your eyes. Because if you have ADHD, success can feel like this far off thing everyone else gets to have, but not you. You don't feel like a master of your mind, more like a mess of good intentions and frustration. You doubt, you try, you slip up over and over again, and then you start to lose hope. Now, sure, there are people with ADHD who've hit that classic version of success. Maybe it's Michael Phelps, who used swimming to channel his ADHD and become a 23-time Olympic gold medalist. Or perhaps it's Johnny Depp, a super famous and wildly creative actor. Or maybe it's super rich entrepreneurs like Richard Branson, a household name in business. But here's the thing, most of us aren't billionaires or Olympic athletes. So what does real success look like for the rest of us? Is it about making it? Or is there something deeper? Is it success about what you achieve, or is it also about how you live, how you are in the world, how you show up? Well, let's take a deeper dive today, because I want to share with you some of the lessons, the biggest lessons I learned in my 21-year journey of chasing success with ADHD, so that maybe, just maybe, you can stop chasing success and start living it in your own way. When I first got into entrepreneurship and wanting to work for myself, especially in the early days of the internet, I remember people giving me the most ridiculous advice. Why don't you go stand outside your auntie's £1 million mansion and post a photo like it's yours? Or why not take a picture in front of someone else's sports car and put it on your Facebook? Or post holiday snaps to make your life look like a dream and sell people that dream for a price, of course. Now, maybe I'm just wired differently, but that always felt icky to me. Even if it was your mansion, even if it was your car, it still seemed fake, performative, like it was less about success and more about showing off. And even if you achieved all that fair and square, who says that success is all about being number one, about the number of followers you have, or about how many digits you have in your bank account anyway? Listen up. Me and you need to have a chat. When you have ADHD, especially when it's undiagnosed, chances are you've fallen behind in ways that other people probably haven't experienced and likely will find hard to understand because they're not in your shoes. But listen, I understand. I'm like you. I've been there and I struggle sometimes. But let's get this in perspective. It's time to forget about catching up with other people. And it's time to forget about chasing the version of yourself you thought you were supposed to be. Because here's the truth. You didn't even know what was holding you back. And that means you are not to blame. One of the most powerful lessons ADHD can teach us is self-compassion. You were doing the best you could with the awareness and tools you had at the time. And now that you know more, yes, of course you can do better, but not by beating yourself up or living in regret. Instead, by understanding that progress starts with honest, compassionate awareness. When you see your situation clearly, without shame, you give yourself the freedom to start afresh, to move forward one step at a time, and to finally define success on your own terms. And it's okay to not come first. It's okay to not compete against anyone but yourself, because you're developing a growth mindset, focusing on progress one step at a time, and that's all that really matters. We've all swallowed that lie to some extent. Success should be instant. Want it? You can have it right now. Think get-rich-quick schemes, overnight wellness hacks, the law of attraction. Just think it into existence. Or 1-minute microwave burgers. Fast, sure, but let's face it, it tastes fake like plastic. Then there are the flashy before and after photos. A guy goes from soft to shredded in just 12 weeks, but what you don't see is the steroids, the perfect lighting, or the fact that many were already muscular under the fluff. Or perhaps he's not realizing all the hard work that actually went into making that happen. 21 years ago, I was the opposite, a skinny hard gainer with digestion and immunity issues slowing every rep. I didn't have hidden muscle waiting to pop out. I had to build it cell by cell, and it took years, longer than most. But does that make my journey any less successful? Of course not. Now, all credit to those who are able to achieve fast transformations, whether it's physically or mentally, in part because of genetics, but either way, a burger grilled slowly over flames tastes so much richer than one that pops out of the microwave a few minutes later. Likewise, breakthroughs born of steady effort are all the more satisfying, and what makes you a success isn't so much about the outcome, the destination, but the character that you built along the way, the persistence, the grit, what you learned, what you overcome, and what caused you to grow through that process. Now, you might be wondering, why talk about body transformation in a video on ADHD success? Well, I'll admit it, I sometimes waffle. Thanks, ADHD. But here's the point. Society sells us get it now as the only path, but it's a pernicious myth. Yes, some things in life will come quicker than others. Yes, there are more efficient systems, products, or pathways, but there's no getting away from the reality that ultimately success takes practice, patience, and time. The question is, are you hungry enough for real success? And so how does this apply practically to ADHD? Well, sometimes we are so in the now that we try something and expect instant results. We might start a new diet, coaching, or supplement, or whatever it might be. Try it for a few short while, or what we think is a reasonable amount of time, get bored, perhaps thinking that it didn't work, when in reality it worked somewhat and might work even more if we were to persist, and then move on to something else, looking for the next best thing. Unfortunately, when you have ADHD and you live in the now and you have low frustration tolerance and you're desperate for a solution, the culture of instant gratification only feeds into this tendency we have and makes things worse. So when we have ADHD, we've got to learn the value of sticking it out for longer. And remember, good things really do come to those who wait, those who persist. And a little pain is actually worth it sometimes. As the sign above the mirror at my gym reminds me, it was never meant to be easy, but it will be worth it. A few years back, I took part in a 5-day public speaking training with Andy Harrington that used the hero's journey format. You know, the classic story arc used in all the best-selling movies and stories from time immemorial. In fact, you even find the hero's journey within all the ancient books, such as the Bible, which is sometimes called the greatest story ever told. This starts with the protagonists finding themselves within the ordinary humdrum world. Then a crisis happens. An adventure ensues. The wise mentor shows up with words of wisdom, and then life itself is almost lost. We're on a razor's edge, but then there's a miraculous breakthrough, a transformation, and then, if we make it, there is the return. To live happily ever after, or at least to rest before we fight another day. As a coach friend of mine used to say, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. They had to structure our own life stories that way because this structure is the basis of all the best stories and movies. And interestingly, even though you and I might not live lives as exciting or as far-fetched as Neo in The Matrix or a Marvel superhero like Spider-Man, nonetheless, us mere mortals do seem to go through these same stages. But whilst it was easy for me to identify and speak of most of the stages of the hero's journey within my own story, especially the ADHD hellhole, like, not being able to get to work on time, fearing I'm going to lose my job every day and actually losing my job, and depression and suicidalness, and actually attempting suicide. Nonetheless, I was challenged by the transformation and return part of this story structure. I felt like I didn't have some super desirable transformation to speak of, at least not one that sounded good enough. And I kept thinking that perhaps I'm not there yet. Perhaps I wasn't yet cooked. But then it hit me. I was judging my breakthrough by someone else's standards rather than the reality. I was seeing myself as not worthy, as not good enough, even though I too had experienced a miraculous breakthrough worthy of sharing. So I dropped the shoulds and I shared the truth. I said at a talk I gave, look, I'm not going to tell you I went from zero to hero, that I'm rich now or living in £1 million mansion. My breakthrough wasn't about that. My transformation was going from not knowing I had ADHD, feeling constantly behind, depressed and suicidal, struggling to get out of bed in the morning, to waking up with energy, a sense of purpose and hope. That's what success looked like for me at that time. And for me, that was a genuine miracle. You see, when you have ADHD, you can't measure your success by someone else's definition. You have to redefine it yourself. For one person, success might be building a business. For another, it might be brushing your teeth consistently for the first time in months. It all counts. You can only progress from the point at which you find yourself right now. Because success isn't a destination, it's not a moment, it's not a number in your bank account. Success is a process. It's a way of thinking, it's a way of being, a way of showing up authentically in the world. It's how you show up for yourself even when no one else sees you. When you realize that, you're not just successful, you're successing. So, welcome to Successing, a new definition. Your definition isn't about showing off material things, it's about showing up for yourself and the people that matter to you over and over. Where everyone's success journey looks different. If your after doesn't look like someone else's, it doesn't mean you failed, it just means you're on your own journey and carving out your own version of success. Remember, if you live your life comparing yourself to other people that are different from you and you've not been in their shoes or they've not been in yours, then you're more likely to go through life feeling defeated and unsuccessful. That's not to say that a bit of healthy competition is a bad thing. Of course not, that's fine. But ultimately, success is about competing with your former self, and even then, understanding and being compassionate with your former self, realizing that you don't know what you don't know until you do know, and that you were simply doing your best back then with what you knew at the time. Where transformation isn't always fast or flashy. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's invisible, but if you're growing, you're succeeding. Where you can stop chasing someone else's highlight reel and instead start noticing the small wins in your own story, noticing and celebrating each step of the process because success is a process. And finally, where you don't need to arrive to be a success, because success is a process. You're successing right now just by being honest, intentional, by showing up and still being in the game. When the famous artist Michelangelo was asked how he sculpted David, he said something like, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." The statue was already there. He just removed what didn't belong. And so the process of succeeding with ADHD is like that. It's about chiseling away until the real you emerges in your own way, in your own time. Success with ADHD is not about adding to yourself to become like other people or what society dictates as normal, but more about subtraction, releasing what isn't true and what doesn't work, to discover and embrace what is true and what does work for you. Now, I hope that today's video has been helpful and inspirational and has given you some food for thought about the subject of success and ADHD. And if you like this video and want to see more like this, well, I don't need to tell you to like, share and subscribe to my channel, but I'm reminding you anyway. Thank you for listening to me, Jamie Vasilian, the Hypnosis for ADHD Specialist, and be sure to check out the next video recommended by the algorithms and let me know if they get it right this time. Anyway, bye for now.